massive spoilers here right at the start, but it appears we literally datamined the ending of Midnight. Now, I don't mean the full ending, like the transition into the last title, like we know what happens there, but at least the first and the most significant part of the storyline, and this is a completely legit leak, like this is datamined information. This is not some guy who has a friend at Blizzard. No, we datamined cinematic models, spells, achievements, items that are dropped from the final boss of the raid. We datamined effects and everything that paints a pretty clear picture. As you may know, the Sunwell gets fully corrupted, turning it into the darkwell, but this new leak reveals the huge story that happens after. Not only is the darkwell cleansed, but it is renamed, and this is the long foreshadowed elven reunion. On first glance, sadly, it does appear to end with friendship and rainbows, and I mean literal rainbows, but on the other hand, we don't have the full picture yet. So, is this a good direction that we're going to? Is this going to be another rainbow hugfest? Let's look at all the data mine information because there is so much to unpack here. So far, it has never been a better time to start a trade, as you can get the ultimate Death Knight and a bunch of other free heroes right now with my link in the description or the QR code on the screen. As you may know, I've actually played Raid for a while now. You guys can join my guild, the Arena Syndicate, and so far I've really played through most of the game, nearly until the end game, and really, there is literally an endless amount of content, builds, combinations, and things you can do. Right now it is all about the ultimate Death Knight. He takes all the hits for a team, heals himself just by watching enemies heal, shields and heals your whole squad, shuts down enemy legendaries with debuffs, fears and provokes, and really he is the MVP. He is useful everywhere. Best of all, you can get him right now after you download the game with my QR code or the link in the description, and you can type in the code UDKING until March 31st. Raid is also doing a major promotion with a really iconic franchise, but I can't really reveal anything, but if you guys download the game, you will be in for the early rewards. So if you register with my link in the description, you will get Tagore, a package worth $60 completely free. When you get to level 15, you will get the Rel and a whole bunch of other benefits, and of course, all new users can redeem the ultimate Death Knight with code UDKING, so click my link in the description. Okay, so when I say midnight ending, this is not really the full ending of the expansion. I mean, obviously, it is way too early to speak about this, as we have no idea how it is going to progress. We know for certain that we will still see the Zulaman Troll Isle and a few other things, definitely involving the light and all the faction wars and stuff, but surprisingly enough, we did actually datamine the first main chapter of Midnight Ending, which is actually a huge part of the main storyline, and honestly, I was not expecting it would be ending like this, at least this fast. Now, keep a few things in mind. We are in the beta right now. We only datamined items, spells, and a few cinematic models, so people are making conclusions, painting the picture based on the currently available info, which is actually quite a lot of info, but nonetheless, it's not like we datamined a fully official release dialogue that confirms things 100%. What is good news is that Blizzard is actually open to changing things here. Now, I don't know if this part is really subject to change, as these are some pretty major story updates that they obviously planned ages ago. But for example, if you guys watched my Altered Draenor video with Garrosh and all the crazy lore retcons and inconsistencies, they actually completely revamped their quest time and almost entirely fixed it. So they are listening to feedback, but here it is a bit more tricky, as this isn't really a side quest, like this is the main chapter. So as we know, people really want the Sunwell for some reason. This is pretty much the main justification for Arthas to attack with his Scourge back in Warcraft 3, destroying like 90% of the Highland population and almost entirely wiping them out, all because he wanted the Sunwell to use as a power source. Now, the Sunwell was rebuilt, but it is pretty much the same right now. The only difference is it's not the Undead army that is after it, but Zaltet and the whole Cosmological Void army. Now, of course, Sunwell is not the same Sunwell from Warcraft 3 because Arthas destroyed the original one. The original Sunwell was built from a few vials of the original Well of Eternity, and it was crazy potent, allowing the elves to wield powerful magic and significantly overpower the trolls in the area for thousands of years. Really, because of the Sunwell, they were the main magic users on Azeroth. Since Arthas destroyed it though, this created a hunger for them, and like this addiction that led to Fel, that led to withered elves that you had previously seen. Eventually, Kiltas went to Outland, he literally kidnapped an arrow, sent it to the Sunwell so they can siphon it, and then he just went absolutely insane and did a whole bunch of other things, working with the Legion. Now, with the ending of TBC, the Sunwell was reignited once again, but this time as a light-based one through the Naru, and it has been this way all the way until now. Now, this was always a bit weird, as Blood Elves never really cared cared for the light. They're one of the specific people on Azeroth that never cared for the light. They only really in their history became light users when this happened in TBC, and users is a bit of a strong word, as originally they were literally just exploiting the Sunwell, like they were literally exploiting the light and ciphering the powers, but the light powers were very new to them. Since then though, this new experimental Sunwell was kind of unstable. We had one scenario where Void Elves were close to it and it started causing problems, which meant the Void Elves had to be exiled. However, now, Zelda found the entry point in Midnight and organized pretty much the entire invasion on the Sunwell itself. This is essentially the opening cinematic as well as the opening scenario when you start playing Midnight. However, now with the datamine information, we actually know what happens next. So this is a little bit older news, but we knew from the start that Zelda was after the Sunwell, and she actually manages to corrupt it, and it turns it into the so-called darkwell, aka the Voidwell. For a certain period of time, Sunwell actually turns to the Void, and it is fully corrupted. Now, based on the datamine chapters and files, we can actually predict what happens next. For example, from the new info, the max level campaign chapter is called The Dawn of a New Well, which has the summary for it to combine the power of the elves to heal the dark well. We see the achievements called the War of the Light and Shadow. We see spells, uncategorized ones, called the 12.0 Dawnbell, Dawnbell Aftermath, Dawnbell, etc. Now, this honestly doesn't say much other than spoiling the fact that the Sunwell is ultimately healed, and apparently it is now called the Dawnbell. Of course, we don't know if it's literally called the Dawnbell or if it's just the entire premise like the dawn of a new well. However, we do have a lot more interesting information where we can actually predict things. So we have, together with this datamine stuff, a bunch of models of Umbric, Veressa, Liadrin, Chandris, and Talisra, and all these models are holding an item and they have an animation of them dropping this item into the dark well. Keep in mind, this seems like a regular in-game cinematic. It's probably not going to be a crazy budget cinematic, at least based on these models. The items are really interesting though. So Talisra drops the Arkandor fruit, which you may remember back from Legion, which is like a magical fruit related to the ley lines and arcane. Then Umbric literally drops in a void crystal into the dark well, which is oddly weird, but it does happen. Like he drops a void item into the void well. Then Chandris has a vial of the moonwell water, probably related to a loon. Liadrin also has an item that we can't see yet, but she has the animation for it, so it's probably going to drop something, like it's probably going to be something light related. Now the final really interesting model is Veressa that actually drops a crown. Now people actually thought this was the Burger King crown from the Shadowlands, but based on what people analyzed from the artwork in the Warcraft 3 Reforged, it seems to be the actual crown of Anasterian Sunstrider. As you may know, Anasterian was the last true ruler of the elves before Arthas had invaded them. It appears that this relic is dropped into the Darkwell as well, like signaling Blood Elven history. Now, here something happens, and as I said, these are just bits and pieces that we're stitching together and pulling conclusions out of, but as you would imagine, these elves drop all these items from the various magical sources, and they create a new Dawnwell, cleansing the void corrupted one. Interesting enough, we have more information, so we're not just speculating here. As people had noticed, all of these items are color-coded, and we actually datamined an item that is dropped from the final raid boss from the mythic version, and it is a housing decor with a very strange rainbow-like aura. The speculation people came to is that the new Dawnwell is going to be called that, and it is not going to be arcane like it was back in the day, nor is it going to be a light one like it was until recently, but a rainbow-like, combining all the various magics that the Blood Elves use. Now, I know what you may be thinking, and in a way I completely agree with you. I mean, the elves united with the power of friendship, clasping their hands together to create a new rainbow power source to defeat the big bad void. In a way, it is literally a meme, like the elves can manage to beat back the bad guys with friendship and rainbows. However, it could actually be more to this. I mean, let's not go crazy this early. So, first of all, as I said, these conclusions are based on the various hints that we have pulled from various sources. It's stitched together. It's not the whole picture. It might not be the whole picture. Furthermore, I think rainbow may be overstretching it. I mean, the effect we can see appears to be of multiple colors, but it's still mainly like the Sunwell. It's not literally a rainbow. It's more like a mixed power source. On one hand, based on the current storyline, this actually makes complete sense. I mean, we have seen so far in the beta that the light has really gone crazy, and even the founder of the original Blight Knight Paladin Order, like the Blood Elf Order, talked about abandoning the light and getting a new power source. Furthermore, as I said at the start, the elves are not light users whatsoever. It's super new to them. They never really based their society on that. It's like this thing they just latched onto suddenly because Keltas brought Anaru. The Blood Elves in particular have always been arcane users. This was always their main power source. However, over the past few years, a significant portion of them started using the Void as well, and we could even get Blood Elf Druid soon, so they have kind of been all over the place recently. For the longest time, Quel'Thalas was literally the main Magic Kingdom on Azeroth, the true arcane users. I mean, they literally showed humans magic is a thing. However, since the Scourge invasion and since everything fell apart, they resorted to pretty much every possible power source they could get their hands on, from the Fel to the Void. They have been wielding all of those successfully, so in a way, it does make sense for the Blood Elves to build their new well based on all of these power sources. I know some people are talking about the light being the main thing, but as I said, Blood Elves are literally more Fel users than they are light users. The only problem with this storyline is really going to be the execution and how it is going to be done. If the cinematics are bad, if the story is bad, this could end up being really cringe. Literally, Power of Friendship and Rainbow saves the day. But if it is built around the Elven Union and also potentially really pissing off the light because they decided to convert the Sunwell, it could lead to a future light and void storyline for this expansion. So while we did data mine a huge chunk of the new storyline, let's keep in mind it is still the beta. We still got a ton of things that need to be put in place before we can make a final judgment on whether this is bad or whether this is not bad. Thanks for watching, and check out the upcoming faction conflict that we know will happen by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Greek mythology and the Titans that I've recorded live on site in Italy by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time!